I'm talking about the psychological dimensions all the time here, particularly about the third, the fourth, and fifth dimensions. But what is a dimension after all? Is it a place in the spiritual world? Do you have to have special spiritual gifts to reach the superior dimensions? The answer is no. Dimensions have nothing to do with that. Dimensions are psychological abilities that anyone can develop. Do you want to know what are the main characteristics that you need to develop in each dimension from the first to the fifth? Come with me. I'm Cavalher. There are many myths around the fourth and the fifth dimensions. Of course, people create fantasies about things they do not understand. Usually, the fantasies are about the superior dimensions being somewhere in the spiritual world. They can only be reached by those who have very powerful spiritual gifts. Ascended masters live there. In these dimensions, problems and evil have been forever overcome, and everybody lives happily ever after. This is nonsense. People like you and me can be in the superior dimensions. Everybody has access. But then, what is a dimension? The answer is not mystical nor fantastic. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Let's go straight to business. Dimensions are stages at the psychological development. This is how it works. Being in one dimension is to spend a period of time in your life developing a specific set of psychological abilities. When you finish developing the abilities of a given dimension, the soul or the spirit automatically push you to the next dimension. Then you start developing the abilities of the next dimension. It's simple. No one needs holistic fantasies and mystification in order to move to the superior dimensions. What you really need is hard work and psychological development. Now that you have better understood what the dimensions are, how about learning the abilities someone must develop in each dimension? The first dimension is the dimension of instincts, the body, and the physical world. That's why spiritualists undervalue this dimension. They find the physical world boring and prefer abstract things, extraordinary spiritual gifts, and fanciful realities. The first dimension is of utmost importance. Here is where everything takes place. The main ability you must develop in 1D is action. You must make things happen. What's the use of learning things only theoretically? For instance, what's the use of learning spiritual love if your actions do not reflect that? The first dimension is the key to all other dimensions. All the abilities that you will develop in the next dimensions must be put into action, put into practice, or they won't be real. The second dimension is the dimension of society. Here you understand that you do not exist alone. You realize that you have many skills, but you are better at some of them and other people are better at the other. People are different. Some are engineers, others are businessmen, and others priests. Because people are different, they need one another. Did the 2D seem easy to you? Think again. What about the income inequality, the prejudice, and all the hate and polarization that took over politics and the society nowadays. The sum of all the people living together, each one of them with its own set of characteristics, makes a community. With time, community develops into a society. If the society is successful, it will someday become a civilization. Currently, almost everybody is in the third dimension. A very simple analysis demonstrates that. It's obvious. The 3D is the dimension of the ego. Here, you learn to invest in your own development. You develop a personality with very well-defined characteristics. You invest in the development of your body, your education, your professional skills. You struggle to accomplish things and succeed. The efforts to develop a strong personality and succeed creates a strong consciousness about yourself. Someone with a strong personality, success, and consciousness has built a strong ego and completed the 3D. The fourth dimension is the soul's dimension, and the ability you must develop is spiritual love. Note that this is far beyond the current level of development of almost everyone. The 4D has been brilliantly described by Carl Jung in his Jungian psychology. In order to develop your ego in 3D, you have developed some personality characteristics and have not developed the others. For instance, you are a woman, not a man. You are a spiritualist, not a materialistic person. You are the boss, not the employee. You are good, not evil. 3D people have a strong tendency to devalue the characteristics they do not have. Besides, they devalue people who have those characteristics. For instance, 3D spiritualists tend to devalue the material world and all those they see as materialistic people. In order to develop the spiritual love in 4D, you will have to find within yourself all the characteristics you still do not have. And from this point on, you will need to put them into practice. This is the only way you can become whole and learn how to love yourself wholly and learn how to love everybody else wholly too. The fifth dimension is the dimension of the spirit, and the ability you develop here is the creation. In the 4 previous dimensions, you have developed all the psychological abilities necessary to be a whole human being and to be in touch with the wholeness. Therefore, you are now considered to be a spiritual adult. As a spiritual adult, you will be responsible for all of your choices and all of your actions. If you are an adult, you don't need people telling you what to do, taking care of you, and doing things for you. Now is the time for you to choose for yourself what you want to be, experience, and do in accordance with what makes sense to you. After choosing, you will have to realize your choice in the physical world, because spirit is body. In 5D, you create yourself and create your own reality.